Your real estate agent lied to you. Or maybe they just don't understand what's actually happening. Because right now, South Florida is experiencing something that shouldn't be possible. Miami has 9.7 months of housing inventory. That's the highest level in the entire country. Prices are falling, sales are down, it's a buyer's market. But at the exact same time, in the exact same city, luxury homes are selling for $3,000 per square foot, up 115% from last year. A Star Island estate just sold for $120 million. South Florida is on track for 426 ultra-luxury home sales above $10 million this year, second highest on record. And in the next 7 minutes, you're going to discover why 98% of people completely misunderstand what's happening in South Florida real estate. Because this isn't one market, it's 3 markets stacked on top of each other, each following completely different rules. And depending on which market you're playing in, you're either winning bigger than ever or getting absolutely destroyed. Let me take you back to 2020. The pandemic just hit, everyone's working from home. Suddenly, living in New York or California doesn't make sense anymore. Why pay 14% state income tax when you can live in Florida for 0? Why freeze in Chicago winters when you can have year-round sunshine? And South Florida became the promised land. In 2022 alone, Florida gained 314,467 new residents. That's nearly 1,000 people every single day moving to the state. Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach, everyone wanted in. Homes were selling in days, bidding wars on everything. 20, 30, 50,000 over asking was normal. You couldn't even schedule a showing before properties went under contract. Miami home prices jumped 138% from 2015 to 2025. Single-family homes in Palm Beach County went from affordable to astronomical. Luxury condos in Brickell were selling at $800 per square foot, then $900, then over $1,000. The velocity was insane, unstoppable. Everyone assumed it would last forever. Fast forward to November 2025. Same South Florida, different reality. Miami now has 9.7 months of housing supply, the highest in America. Broward County inventory up 36% year over year. Palm Beach up 25%. Nearly 16,000 new apartment units are hitting the market in 2025 alone. Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and Hollywood are drowning in new construction. Total sales in Miami are down 16% from last year. Cash buyers, historically the backbone of South Florida's market, are down 12.6% for single-family homes. International investment is cooling. Migration has collapsed from 314,000 in 2022 to just 64,000 in 2024. That's an 80% drop. So here's your dopamine gap. You expected South Florida to keep booming forever, but reality? The everyday buyer's market is cooling fast. Prices are falling, inventory is exploding, homes are sitting for months. But for the ultra-wealthy, this is the golden age. They're buying at prices that would make you dizzy. And that contradiction is the key to understanding everything happening in South Florida right now. Let's break down what's actually happening. Because South Florida isn't one market, it's 3 completely separate economies operating in the same geographic space. If you're shopping for homes above $10 million, South Florida is your paradise. Between January and July 2025, Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties recorded 262 sales of homes priced at $10 million or higher. At the current pace, the region will hit 426 ultra-luxury sales by year-end. That's just shy of the all-time record of 444 set in 2021. And it gets crazier. Single-family homes selling for $3,000 per square foot? There were 28 such sales in Miami-Dade from January to July 2025. That's up 115% from the same period in 2024. And before the pandemic in 2019, 0. Not a single sale at that price point. In March 2025, developer Vlad Doronin sold his Star Island estate for $120 million. Private dock, tennis court, expansive grounds, one of Miami's most exclusive addresses. This isn't just a sale, it's a statement. Ultra-high net worth individuals are pouring money into South Florida like never before. Why? because Miami offers more value than any other global luxury market. According to Knight Frank's Wealth Report of 2025, $1 million buys you 58 square meters of prime property in Miami. In Monaco, just 19 square meters. In New York and London, 34 square meters each. You're getting nearly double the real estate for the same money. Add in zero state income tax, a booming fintech hub, business-friendly government, 365 days of sunshine, and you understand why billionaires are relocating here. Lionel Messi bought property, Jeff Bezos bought property. The ultra-wealthy are treating Miami like the new Monaco. And luxury condos? Branded residences from St. Regis, Rayleigh at Rosewood, and Mandarin Oriental in Brickell are hitting $3,000 per square foot for bayfront penthouses. Fisher Island remains the most expensive zip code in Miami, with prices reaching $2,369 per square foot, up 15% year over year. Now let's talk about the middle market, homes between $400,000 and $2 million. This is where everyday buyers, young professionals, and middle-class families shop, and this market is frozen solid. Miami's median home price is down 10% from its 2024 peak. Single-family homes saw a 1.5% price decline year over year. Nothing catastrophic, but the momentum is gone. And homes are sitting longer. The median time to sell for single-family homes jumped from 72 days to 85 days. For condos, it went from 109 days to 107 days. Why? 3 reasons. First, mortgage rates. They're still above 7%. That kills affordability for average buyers. A $500,000 home with a 7% mortgage costs dramatically more than the same home at 3%. Second, insurance. Florida homeowners are paying an average of $8,300 annually for insurance in some areas. That's an extra $700 a month on top of your mortgage. It's brutal. Third, inventory. There's simply too many options. Buyers have leverage. They're negotiating. They're taking their time. The panic buying is over. FOMO is dead, and sellers are feeling it. And then there's the condo market, especially older buildings, and this is where things get dark. Miami condos now have 14.1 months of supply. That's a deep buyer's market. For context, anything over 9 months is considered oversupplied. Condo inventory increased 31% year over year. That's thousands of units flooding the market with not enough buyers to absorb them. But it's not just supply. It's fear. The Surfside collapse in 2021 changed everything. Insurance companies looked at aging buildings and said, "We're out." The ones that stayed are charging premiums that make ownership impossible for many buyers. HOA fees are skyrocketing as buildings are forced to build reserve funds for repairs and structural inspections. New state condo regulations that took effect in January 2025 require inspections and adequate reserves for older buildings. That's good for safety, but it's devastating for affordability. Some condo associations have seen their fees jump by hundreds of dollars per month overnight. So what's happening? Condo owners are trying to sell. Buyers are running the numbers and walking away. Units are sitting for months, and prices are slowly declining. Unless you're in prime location like Brickell or downtown Miami with updated infrastructure, condos are struggling. But here's the hidden story that changes everything. The migration wave that fueled South Florida's boom? It's over. In 2022, Florida gained 314,467 new residents. In 2023, that dropped to 185,067. In 2024, just 64,017. That's an 80% drop in migration. And migration drives housing demand. When fewer people are moving in, fewer people need to buy homes. Why did migration slow down so dramatically? Several reasons. First, remote work is declining. Companies are forcing people back to the office. If you have to work in New York 5 days a week, you can't live in Miami anymore. Second, climate concerns. People are watching hurricanes, flooding, and heat waves and reconsidering. A recent study projects Miami will see a 257% increase in days over 105 degrees Fahrenheit over the next 30 years. That's brutal. Third, cost. South Florida isn't cheap anymore. What looked like a bargain in 2020 is now expensive. When you factor in insurance, property taxes, and HOA fees, the total cost of ownership can exceed what you'd pay in other states, even with income tax. But here's what's keeping the luxury market alive: international buyers. According to Miami Realtors' first ever new construction global sales report, international buyers bought 49% of new construction, pre-construction, and condo conversion sales in South Florida over an 18-month period ending June 2025. Nearly half. That's data from 9,115 units in 37 new construction projects. Buyers from Europe, Latin America, and the Middle East see Miami as both a safe haven and an appealing second home destination. Currency fluctuations have made U.S. real estate attractive for some international buyers, and Miami's multilingual community makes the transition seamless. But here's the catch. Cash sales are down 12.6% year-over-year for single-family homes in Miami-Dade. That's a red flag. Cash buyers have historically been a strong indicator of foreign investment. The decline suggests some international investors are stepping back amid economic uncertainties. The Canadian dollar hasn't been this low in over 20 years. The US dollar strength is making American real estate more expensive for foreign buyers. So while international demand is still strong in the ultra-luxury segment, it's cooling in the mid-market. So what happens next? Where is South Florida headed in 2026? Experts are divided. Some predict the market will stabilize with modest 2 to 3% appreciation as inventory gets absorbed and mortgage rates decline. Others warn that prices could continue softening, especially in the condo market and suburban areas with high inventory. The Miami Association of Realtors projects overall median sales prices will increase 6.5% in 2025, with single-family homes accelerating to 9.7% growth. But that's an average. It doesn't account for the massive disparity between luxury and everyday buyers. The biggest wildcard is interest rates. If the Federal Reserve cuts rates aggressively, buyer demand could surge. Purchase demand is already rising as rates tick down slightly. But if rates stay elevated above 7%, the middle market will remain frozen. The second wildcard is insurance. If Florida can stabilize its insurance market, if premiums stop rising or even decrease, that unlocks demand sitting on the sidelines. But right now, insurance companies are fleeing the state, and the ones staying are charging record premiums. The third wildcard is climate. More hurricanes, more flooding, more heat waves. Every major weather event makes buyers question whether South Florida is worth the risk long-term. So where does this leave you? Whether you're a buyer, seller, or investor, South Florida is at a crossroads. If you're a luxury buyer with serious capital, this is your moment. Ultra-luxury properties are holding value. Branded residences are commanding premium prices. International competition keeps the top end strong. And compared to Monaco, New York, and London, Miami still offers incredible value per $1 million spent. If you're an investor, be extremely selective. Ultra-luxury waterfront will always have demand, but mid-market and older condos are risky. Run the numbers on cash flow after insurance and property taxes. The days of buying anything and watching it appreciate are over. And if you're a seller, be realistic. Unless you own luxury waterfront property in a prime location, you're not in control anymore. Price aggressively. Present your property well. Understand that buyers have options and they're using them. South Florida isn't dying, it's maturing. The unsustainable growth is over. The speculative frenzy is done. What's replacing it is a more rational, more segmented market, where quality matters, location matters, and pricing matters. The ultra-wealthy will keep buying at record prices. The middle market will stay cautious until rates and insurance stabilize, and condos will struggle until buyers feel confident about long-term value and maintenance costs. But here's what you need to remember. South Florida is experiencing 3 completely different real estate markets at once, and your success depends entirely on understanding which market you're in, because the rules that work for luxury buyers will destroy everyday buyers, and the strategies that work for single-family homes won't work for condos. So do your homework, understand the data, know which tier you're operating in, because South Florida's real estate story in 2025 isn't simple. It's the most complex, most segmented market in America, and the winners will be the people who see what everyone else is missing. That's it for today. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.